Hello everyone, my name is Golden Bolt. For the past 3 years, I've been playing on this Minecraft server called the Chirp SMP. Unfortunately, the server shut down about a year and a half ago, but I was actually able to download the world and continue playing on it. Since then, I've been slowly upgrading some of the builds on the server in creative mode, because, well, some of the builds are pretty bad. Anyways, today I want to tackle upgrading a build that was made relatively early in the Chirp SMP's lifetime. The Tower. So, to start with this build, I looked at the outside of the tower just to get an idea of what I was working with. And immediately, I noticed a few flaws. There was no variation in the materials, and the entire building was very flat. There was also this weird thing going on where the top had a 1 block center and the bottom had a 2 block center. I don't know what was happening there. But some things that I liked about the build, however, are the corners. I think that's the thing that gives the build an identity. I also like the torches on the corners. It makes it look really cool at nighttime. But actually getting started, I grabbed most of the blocks that made out most of this build, so a lot of smooth stone, polished andesite, black tinted glass, and nether bricks for some reason. For this new version, I wanted to go with a darker color scheme, so I ended up choosing deep slate and blackstone. Helping me build this was a nifty mod called Axiom. It merges the capabilities of software like World Edit with being able to do everything I need to do in one place, that being Minecraft itself, so pretty neat. Alright, so what I'm doing now is making the core of the tower. Unlike their original design, I wanted to make the core more darker and rounder. A giant rectangle would not look good. After trying to get the placement right, I finally placed the cylinder to start, and then I realized that I accidentally made a 2 block center, because little known fact about me, I am a professional dumbass. Working on the wings of the tower now, I kinda wanted to go for a more pointed tip instead of the rounded tip before, because it would give it a sharper look and give it more pizzazz. But after fiddling around with it, I came to a conclusion that I had no idea what I was doing. To the drawing board! Alright, so how I think I'm gonna have it... Alright, shut up past me. You sound so dead inside it makes me feel like I'm listening to my 8th grade math teacher all over again. My plan for this build involves several key elements. The main structure will feature a cylindrical center with wings on the sides. Unlike the original rounded corners, I want to make the corners more pointy, giving them a horn-like appearance as they rise. Moving downward, I intend to keep the inwards kind of shape. I don't really know what you call that, but I thought it looked pretty cool. The main structure will continue with this theme, culminating in a glass dome at the top, which will serve as a dining area or meeting space. I also drew what it would look like from the top. So I had an idea for the railing on the top and the design for the front. The railing looks pretty bad, but the design is basically just one big advertisement. That would be the side that overlooks Diamond Ingot's house. And finally, I had an idea for the right side. It was inspired by a cyberpunky type thing. You see it all the time in futuristic movies and video games. But yeah, that's that. Let's try again, shall we? Alright. With this newfound clarity, I was able to get started on the outside, specifically with the wings of the tower. I started by trying to make the shape look alright, and then I started to tweak the top so it would curve like my drawing. It took a little bit of trial and error, but I eventually got it. Once I got the shape down, I lowered it down to create the wing, and then I remembered that I needed to make the inward sort of shape, and to be honest, I had no idea how to make this look good. As you can see, I fiddled around with it for a bit, and I actually just settled on making the inward curve myself. I made extra sure to make it even. I struggled here as well. I got the curve down, but it was weird trying to fill the wing in. I eventually got it down though, and here I bound the chain to the top and bottom, kind of aiming to make it look like a suspension bridge almost. And then I remembered that I needed to light up the wings, just like the original. I went through like every lighting item before I just ended up using end rods. And boom, the wing is done. Time to add it to the other 3 sides and get to the work on the entrance to this monstrosity. Going into the entrance, I wanted to make it look as imposing as possible. And I thought, what better way than to add Gothic style arches to lead up to the door. When I built this originally, Diamond Ingot actually thought I was trying to assert my dominance on him by building a massive tower over his base. I didn't mean to, but I could see how he thought of that. I couldn't get any ideas of how I wanted to make this, so I used these cool Gothic style arches made by Kappa V0106. And then I get the door in there and we're done with the outside. Working on the inside now, I decided to switch the checkerboard pattern for this weird design. I don't know, it just seemed more interesting. And listen, by this point, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning and I was hella tired. So what did I decide to do for the ground floor? That's right, make a whole ass house inside this tower. Now this is supposed to be kind of like a lobby area, so there's a villager there for information. Why did I do this? Only God knows. I hate making interiors, mostly because I just don't know what to put in my builds. I like to build stuff in Minecraft that looks pretty, but does not necessarily like have a purpose. And this build is definitely a prime example of that. Now after building the house, we needed a way to get to the other floors and also a way to get to the top. To do this, I just built a water elevator up and down. Very ugly and basic, I know, but it's whatever. Moving to the next floor, with this one, I wanted to make an office space. So I laid out some basic rooms, then built them up to, well, look like office spaces. I reused the checkerboard pattern floor that I made earlier and made a lounge area on each side where the water elevators are. So the employees of this place can get coffee and talk to their coworkers in the lounge. I numbered each room and added some plants around to give this place some life. Finally, I added different villager professions in each room, as well as some villagers to work for the company. Without them, this place looked kind of like a liminal space, if I'm going to be honest. And as you probably already saw, I added a second floor. Something really weird happened while I was trying to move the floor up to create the boss's room. A bunch of mobs spawned in between the 2 floors, so when I tried to create the staircase going up from the offices to the boss's room, the zombies and all of the mobs attacked all the villagers. So they created zombie villagers. But I guess it makes sense, since the office drones at this place would already be pretty dead inside anyway. Going to the boss's office now, it was really late by now, so I basically just half-assed this room. It was just a wall with a bunch of lanterns hanging around, so it was really bad. So, after being rested, I decided to give the boss's room another shot, so I tore down everything and started again. For try number 2, I wanted to keep the same basic layout, so I went with a wall with 2 rooms. I gave the wall some texture, and I think this design came out pretty well. Then I added an imposing archway leading to the boss's throne, as well as the boss's assistant. With the throne, I could have done better, but I don't build thrones very often, and I was working in a relatively small space. Making stairs up to the very top now, I wanted to make a curved staircase, but I thought it looked pretty bad, so I just settled on making an angular staircase.
The operation is about to begin. universe holds its breath at the audacity of man.
For this dome at the top, I wanted to make it a meeting area for the richest people in this SMP, so they could discuss their plans for world dominance or something. Then I added some stuff to fill the outside of the dome, like dining tables and lights, and with that, we're done with the interior. Here, I am working on the advertisements I was talking about earlier. For this one, overlooking Diamond Ingot's house, I decided I was not going to go with the advertisement I was talking about earlier, and instead, I was just going to go for a cool design. I made this design up on the spot. It doesn't have any meaning, but I thought it looked interesting enough for you to look at it and go, huh, that's pretty cool. Moving to the side, I wanted to go with this cyberpunk-y type of ad. The best example I could find of this idea was from Cyberpunk 2077 in Night City. That message is actually written in the enchantment table language. If you find out what the message is, put it in the comments below and let me know what it is. After tweaking the support a little bit, I moved to the other side of the tower. This time, I put the design on the other side. And going back to the side part, I realized that it would not light up at night with just wool being there. Again, I wanted this to look like it was straight out of a movie or a video game. To do this, I looked at a bunch of different blocks in the creative menu, and I landed on this frog light block. When I was building this, I wasn't sure if it was a modded block or not, but I used it anyways. I did some research after, and I actually found that the frog light block is like an actual thing. I literally have never seen this block before. Fortunately, it was a green block that lit up, so it fit the criteria well. Moving on to the final part of this build, the graveyard. Currently, there's no way to get up to the tower, so I needed to make a path to the entrance. Now, my plan is to get this graveyard that was built a way long time ago and rebuild it along with the tower. For starters, I created a line with Axiom and then added some stuff on the side. Then I did this pretty cool thing where I basically sculpted the terrain into what I wanted, kinda like clay. After that, I got rid of the graveyard that was there before and I flattened the terrain around it. Then I painted the terrain to make it look how I wanted it to. So that being half stone or rocky, and then half dirt or grimy. To achieve this grimy look that I wanted, I used the noise painter tool in Axiom. And I thought I cooked here, it looks pretty cool. Next, I made the path going up to the entrance, and here's a little building tip from Golden Bolt. The path block is actually 1 pixel shorter than a block like grass or stone, so the block underneath shows when the path goes up. So to fix this 1 pixel discrepancy, you have to replace the block under with dirt, so then it looks nice and consistent. It's like a small detail that actually adds a whole lot to your builds. And now with the terrain done, I can get started with the gate and fence of this graveyard. It's not super fancy, but I didn't want to build anything that would take away from the actual build. Here I wanted to try something pretty neat. I built the Sexton's Morgue house thingy, and I found out that Axiom can actually animate your builds, so that's pretty cool. Now while I get started with this, let me tell you some hidden lore about the Chirp SMP. There was a certain someone on the SMP who wanted to make a memorable exit. To do so, they stole one of the rare cheated in items and late at night began causing chaos and destruction. In the midst of the mayhem, they were knocked high into the air. When they came back down, they remained motionless. By morning, they had been sent to the cemetery. Their house has actually been in frame for a lot of this graveyard segment. With the basic layout done, I was able to get started on the actual graves themselves. I created 3 versions. one with stone bricks, one with chiseled stone bricks, and one with a cross. These are meant to be more expensive as you go along, just like real life. Placing them further up the hill, I turn it into night to better light up the area. Extra little tidbit now, I realized that the garden in the lobby has no natural light, so I created some gothic style windows to fix that. I also built some artificial lighting to try and help the flowers down there as well. Additionally, I added some windows for the offices as well. And with the windows in the cemetery, the build is done. Dramatic pause.